Hi, my name's Charlie, I'm at Tabletop Gaming and this is D&D and Don't Know. So I started playing D&D only a couple of months ago and I had a ton of questions. So what I'm doing is taking you on my journey of asking those questions and finding out those answers. Hopefully though, this will be a nice and quick video for you, so you'll get everything in little bite-sized chunks. With this series, what we're going to start off is with the big one. What is D&D? Okay, so the basic definition of Dungeons & Dragons is that it is a storytelling game. It's going to be led by a dungeon master who's going to explain to you aspects of the story and set the scene for where you are. You are going to play as a character. It might be a fantastical character, or you might even choose to play as a human, and you can take that character through the adventures that your dungeon master asks you to. Ultimately, you're going to be jumping into battle, you're going to be investigating all sorts of things, whatever your dungeon master chooses to take you through, and that's going to involve a lot of fun and a little bit of dice rolling, but we'll come on to that in a second. So let's do a brief history lesson. So it was created by David Arneson and Gary Gygax back in 1974. Now they printed it for 1,000 copies and it immediately sold out. So they printed another 1,000 copies and that immediately sold out. And you can see the pattern continues as they printed their next 2,000 and then they added revised versions. So you had Advanced Dungeons & Dragons and the edition started. So if you look at Dungeons & Dragons and see 5e written next to it, that's because we're up to the 5th edition of the game. Now all you'll need to know is kept up to date within that. Any changes to the rules are updated by Wizards of the Coast or Dungeons & Dragons, but ultimately all you'll need to start is an idea of what's going on and a story to tell. How does it work? Well, you're going to be told a story by your DM. They're going to set the scene. Maybe you're in a dungeon and it's dark and you're trying to feel your way through. When you encounter something that requires an ability, so perhaps how good at perceiving things you are, your dungeon master will ask you to roll your dice. It's usually for actions and things, a D20, which is a 20-sided dice. The higher the number, the better the outcome. The lower the number, you're going to have some difficulties. So if you score a 20, that's a critical hit. That means you're probably going to have some really good success in whatever it is that you were trying to do. If you roll a natural 1, you may struggle. Let me give you some examples. So say you're in the local shop with the shopkeeper and you're haggling for a new sword. You only have a certain amount of money, so you need him to bring the cost down so that you can purchase it. You're trying to persuade him that your quest is worth it. This is something that's going to benefit his town. He's going to need to bring the cost down for you. But your dungeon master says you need to roll for persuasion. You'll roll your d20. Now, let's say you get a natural 1. That's sort of a sad outcome. Something's going to go wrong. So maybe the shopkeeper takes offence at you trying to lower the cost of his wares and challenges you to a duel to the death. Who knows what the outcome to that's going to be. On the other hand, if you roll a natural 20, the shopkeeper may be so persuaded by what it is that you've done that he'll hand over the sword for free, he'll throw him in a shield, and even his dog to keep you companion on the quest that you're going on to. Alternatively, you can look at something like maybe you're scoping out a town from the rooftops, looking for a Wendigo that's stalking the city. You decide, actually, I'm going to jump over to the next roof. Now, some people are better at athletics than others, so that jump is a skill that you're going to need to roll for. Once you make that roll, let's say we get a natural 20. You soar over the gap like a bird flying across. It's the most elegant thing you've ever seen. Alternatively, you roll the natural 1, you stumble over your own shoelaces and you're left clinging to the side of the building for dear life and hoping for the best. These sorts of things are what governs your story and also will take you and the dungeon master on a different path that you may not have anticipated. With that, of course, as I said, some are better than others at certain things. So I play as a rogue currently, which means I can be all sneaky and I can go around places. Now I'll have something like a character sheet, which will explain all these things. So how good I am at certain things, whether there are bonuses for me available. So if I'm trying to persuade that shopkeeper that we mentioned earlier, and I've got a good perception ability score increase, so a modifier, maybe I get +2 to any dice roll. So I might have rolled an 18, but I get +2. Now it's a 20. Fabulous. Or it might be that I'm absolutely rubbish and I get nothing added to it. Those things vary between sort of what you're playing as in terms of class and what you're playing as in terms of race. Now those can be changed. There's been some adaptations to lineage in the most recent version of Dungeons & Dragons in terms of Tasha's Cauldron of everything. But the basics are different classes are going to be good at different things. The rogue is going to be more sneaky, the barbarian is going to be more angry. As for what happens next, that's entirely up to you and your story. The dice will take you where they take you. Your dungeon master will lead you on a path of quests and adventures and side quests and great fun things to be involved in, whether that's to do with maybe your character's history, or it might be to do with an overarching adventure. Now the next question is, of course, are all those adventures the same? Well, you can probably guess from that, no they're not. If you look at the Dungeons & Dragons options alone, there are a ton of adventures that they can offer for you, and you can play any of those. You can also do things like a Stranger Things version or a Rick and Morty Things version, or you can create your own. So if you've ever heard the term homebrew, that's what this is creating your own adventures using the world of Dungeons & Dragons, and just seeing where you end up, what you create, which wizard's house you're going to end up in, completing all sorts of hits challenges. You could be anywhere, which makes it great fun and something you'll talk about with those people you're playing for probably forever. And that's all for now for D&D and Don't Know. Thank you for watching. I'm Charlie from Tabletop Gaming. You can find all of our links in the description. Do let us know in the comments if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, because I've probably got the same ones. So give me a shout as to what those are and we'll look at doing a video on those too. Thanks for watching.